Hello, out there, weirdos, and welcome to another episode of the Weird Wide Web podcast. I'm a little bit late on this episode because around Halloween time I said, I'll be right back. And November got a little quiet, but I think a lot of us are doing some deep thinking this month, maybe. But I'm back today, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun because my guest today is Nora B. Peevy, and I've known her for such a long time in our writing community, specifically, usually the horror writing community. But I know both of us kind of dabble in other genres and other things as well. And Nora hails from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And if you don't know about the terrific nonfiction articles she writes for the Weird Wide Web blog, you need to get over there because they're amazing. And we're going to talk about some exciting things in her writing career today, as well as just, I think we're going to chat about poetry because I have a lot of exciting news about poetry. So, anyway, let's actually get to Nora. How you doing today, Nora?
I am doing good. I just got back from walking the dog. It's kind of cold, but at least it's not raining like it was yesterday. Yesterday was absolutely horrible. I had to take her out twice. It was windy. The rain was like coming towards my face. It was,
Especially if you have a dog who likes to splash in the mud on purpose, like mine does.
yes.
Or is that all of them?
I don't know. It was like Armageddon yesterday. I was like, is this a sign of the apocalypse besides everything else that's been going on?
Oh, Lord, we don't need any more signs. Uh, you know, it's really cool to have you on because you've been writing articles for me for a while now. And gosh, you've covered everything like the weirdest town names, the weirdest sex toys, the weirdest burials, like memorials, I guess. Recipes, like those nasty jello recipes. Well, I shouldn't call them nasty because someone might really love those recipes that you shared there. And
Mm.
um, I liked the Harbingers of Death one where you're talking about all the different signs of death on the way. But it's because I love death, I guess.
Me too. And I go through the cemetery a lot with the dog, and I see a lot of the harbingers of death. And then I look and the piece that you're going to have up soon with the flower symbolism, I see a lot of that on the gravestones. So after looking up a lot of it, now I understand a lot more why they are in gravestones. I'm just like, oh, okay. Some of it I already understood, but I did a lot more research. I usually research those articles, even though they seem fun. I spend like a good 2 hours researching before I actually write them.
Oh God, I know. And that's why I try to post it on all my different social media. And anybody out there, Lindsay Beth Goddard, Lindsay Goddard, I'm on pretty much everything and I'm posting links to this fun stuff all the time. And, you're welcome to follow me because, like I said, these articles that she's been writing, yeah, we we try to run the gamut of weird experiences, don't we?
Yes, and I
This
like
one that's
the book reviews and everything.
I'm sorry, I was getting distracted because I'm trying to pull up your next article on my laptop because I know it's waiting in the queue and I'm always running behind. That's what I'm over here blathering on about. I'm always running behind on posting these blogs, or that's how I feel because we always have so much great material waiting in the queue. But the next one is the symbolism behind funeral flowers. So, yeah, I can't wait to get that one up. I'm hoping today or tomorrow. And gosh, I still need to update the website because the writing contest has turned into a poetry book. And where you click on writing contest on the website, it still says there's going to be one, but there's not. It has snowballed into such a lovely snowball, hasn't it?
It has. I think it's going to reach a lot of readers, and it's going to be a great experience. I think the wearing your heart on your sleeve idea is just what we need right now because people are feeling very emotional and that they need a place to be able to speak, and they have a lot to say. So I'm interested to see what people are going to be writing about.
Oh, and the material I've been receiving is just amazing. So this anthology is going to be called A Sleeve of Hearts, And Nora, thank you for the poem you sent me that you're going to have in it because it's just perfect. It's called Pink Mansions, and it really speaks from the heart for sure.
Yeah, I wrote that one actually for my graduate portfolio in 1998.
And you know what's funny is there have been others who have said similar things. Like somebody else, I think they said their piece that got accepted they wrote in 1990, and it's still so poignant.
Yeah, I think it's kind of sad that a lot of our issues are still so poignant and nothing has changed, even though we keep on trying to change things. And even though we keep on getting bigger groups of people who are interested in it, I think our problem is organization. I think if we were better organized, working together and more cohesive, instead of always trying to focus on so many issues, and we would just try to focus on one thing at a time,
And
maybe we might be more successful.
I feel that because I was just sitting here thinking the other day that the addiction of social media, of that instant gratification that somebody liked your comment, I was sitting here wondering if that's actually dividing us in a sense, because there are people I know who should be all on the same side, fighting the bad guys together, and we're just kind of quibbling among each other sometimes. And I don't know if that's how we take out our frustrations and we just want to get on our phone and see that somebody liked our comment, but yeah, we do. We need to unite and focus on what's going on here and keep our eyes on what's going on here, you know?
I've actually read articles that say that it is an addictive thing, that people do get addicted to getting likes and it makes them feel good and validated. So they will continue to check. And it's sort of like an emotional high for them when they get a like. So I think that has something to do with it, that it's kind of like a drug in your brain that makes you feel happy and validated and like you're important. So
And I'm guilty of it too. And in a sense, even with writing, um, I have very rarely written anything that I really keep to myself. Over the years, I have friends and acquaintances, and they say they write in a journal and they never let anybody read it. But I need that gratification of knowing that another human being has read that or feeling like maybe they possibly understood it. So, that's a bit deeper than waiting for a like on a comment, but I get it in that sense, like we need that connection. But now if we're using it just for those quick likes and to argue with each other and ignore the bigger issues, we got to cut it out, guys.
yeah, I know. I think it has to be used properly. And I myself am not a journaler. I have tried journaling so much, but I just, I can't do it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't like being stuck in my head, and I feel that art is important enough that it should be shared with everyone and that art has a message. It's the one thing that I feel should not be taken away from people ever by anybody. And it's a way that every single culture has communicated since the beginning of time. It's so important. I can't see art going away ever.
Right. And with, like you said, with the journaling, it's like, who am I speaking to? Myself? I want to be heard. And so, I mean, that ties in with this whole poetry book and how this happened because the original plan, I was going to run a poetry contest and pick 10 winners who would get $10 each and publication on the website. And that didn't feel like enough because I knew I was going to have so much trouble narrowing it down to 10 because I already know my circle of friends. I know the talent there. And so we're going to end up with a book with probably 50 poems from each from a different author. And it's going to speak volumes.
I'm very excited. I'm excited to see what people write about because everybody's mind works differently. And it's going to be great because I know it's not all going to be political, but I'm sure some of it is going to be political because of what's going on now. And that's great. But honestly, I kind of get tired of looking just at political posts on the internet. I understand it's important, but I want to see just more art, more feeling coming from people, more about their lives and what they're thinking.
I feel that, and even in a sense of during, I hate his name, but during the Orange Man's last 4-year reign, I felt I felt like I couldn't even unwind and watch a comedy special because the cheap grab was always a Trump joke. And you know, I wanted to watch something that made me laugh. And so, yeah, in this book, there is a mix because I'm not going heavy with the political, but you can bet your booties that some people out there are writing a political piece because they are upset right now. Um, I've got pieces about loss and grief, heartbreak, joy, even as long as it's wearing your heart on your sleeve. So it's going to be a good one.
Hmm. Joy. Interesting.
Joy. There's a little bit of joy mixed in, but it is sandwiched between quite a bit of torment. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I think mine is just a commentary about society and beauty and perfection.
Yeah, and hey, have you by any chance had a chance to watch The Substance yet?
I have not, but I've heard good things about it. I've just been so busy. I work for Hell Notes and I got slammed with a bunch of book reviews to do. And now I'm doing unveiling nightmares editing, and I have a couple of novels that I'm in the process of writing. And
And it's so much pressure
yeah.
when a movie is a big hit and all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. And usually
Hmm.
I'm behind, but I happened to catch it last night. And based on the poem you sent me, I just know you're going to love that movie because about 2/3 of the way through the movie, I thought to myself, this has to be written and directed by a woman because I went into it blind. I didn't know anything about it. And it's quite a brilliant movie. So I know you'll like that one. But you know, I know you had told me that there might be some poetry you had rounded up that you want to read, and I don't want to leave you over there waiting for half an hour because I know that you do poetry readings quite often. At least I've seen you on video, but I feel like it is always just a little bit nerve wracking anytime I personally have to do it. Maybe I'm a chicken.
um, Actually, I picked a piece from a play to read because I wanted to let people know that there is this association called Writers for Democratic Action, and it is all about making sure that books are not banned and that our focus is still there as writers. It's also against Trump. So if you like Trump, you might not like this, but it has a focus on national and international issues as well. And it tries to connect citizens with their local bookstores and librarians. And they hold monthly webinars on what real democracy is. Anyone can join. I have actually signed my name to their organization. So if you go under members and you search, you'll find my name with my city. They send emails to you with important news about events and what's going on with book bannings and different like school systems that might be related to your area. And it's really shocking when you find out the books that are being banned and who's on the school board.
I am sold. Did you say the website yet? Because I'm about to run there.
Yeah, it's writersfordemocraticaction.org. And
Okay.
in July, 91 locations in 71 cities and towns in 24 states performed the play Sinclair Lewis's "It Can't Happen Here" from 1936. So that kind of was a protest talking about our rights and book banning and what might happen with censorship if a certain orange Cheeto head did get elected. And I thought that I would read just a little piece of that. So I'm going to read a little piece of that play. Nonsense, snorted Tasbro. That couldn't happen here in America. Not possibly. We're a country of free men. The answer to that, suggested Dora Miss Jessup, if Mr. Falk will forgive me, is the hell I can't. Why there's no country in the world can get more hysterical, yes, or more obsequious than America. Look how Huey Long became absolute monarch after Louisiana, and how the Right Honorable Mr. Senator Basilius Winthrop owns his own state. Listen to Bishop Payne and Father Coughlin on the radio, divine oracles to millions. Remember how President Harding's appointees? Could Hitler's bunch or Winthrop's be worse? Remember the Ku Klux Klan, German measles, Liberty measles, our war hysteria when we called sauerkraut Liberty cabbage and someone actually proposed it, and wartime censorship of honest papers, bad as Russia. Remember our kissing the feet of Billy Sunday, the millionaire dollar evangelist, and of Amy McPherson, who swam the Pacific Ocean clear into the Arizona desert and got away with it. Remember Voliva and Mother Eddy? Remember our Red Scares and our Catholic Scares when all well-informed people knew that the OGPU were hiding out in Okaloosa, and the Republicans campaigning against L. Smith told the Carolina Mountaineers that if L won, the Pope would illegitimize their children. Remember Tom Heflin and Tom Dixon. Remember when the Hick legislatures in certain states, in obedience to William Jennings Bryan, who learned his biology from his pious old grandma, set up shop as scientific experts and made the whole world laugh itself sick by forbidding the teaching of evolution? Remember the Kentucky Night Riders. Remember how trainloads of people have gone to enjoy lynchings. Not happened here. Prohibition, shooting down people just because they might be transporting liquor. No, that couldn't happen in America. Why, where in all history has there ever been a people so ripe for a dictatorship as ours? We're ready to start on a children's crusade, only of adults and the Right Reverend Abbots Winthrop and Praying are all ready to lead us. And I think that's a pretty important reminder of some of the things in history that have happened and could happen again if we let them.
Yes, and was that nearly 100 years old?
Yeah, it's from 1936.
Wow. See, there you go.
And it was used by Writers for Democratic Action. And they actually did even more productions in October, right before the election. And it has become a protest, and they've actually changed it from "it can't happen here" to "it can happen here." And it actually is a small cast. I think you only need 5 or 7 people to perform the entire thing. And it's been performed in Unitarian churches that let people perform plays. It's been performed in coffee houses. It's been performed in independent bookstores. It's been performed in libraries. It's been performed in playhouses. Anywhere. You can just go in and ask to perform it.
And this is why it's important for us to write right now in this moment as well, because God forbid that we're still, repeating the same mistakes 100 years from now, but we have been for some millennia now. And so the content we're writing now, someone could need that decades down the line and relate to it and use it as a vessel for change.
Right.
So that's why we write.
Again, that website is writersfordemocraticiaction.org.
Amazing.
So, and anybody can go and sign up. I've signed up my name. I don't care if anybody sees that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because as informal as it is to stay up to date this way, I sort of follow what's going on with the book bannings via Instagram, and people just wouldn't really believe some of the types of books that are being pulled from libraries. They're not paying attention. And when you tell them the books, they're like, really? Is that true? Yes.
I know, like Toni Morrison's Love, for instance, is being banned. Toni Morrison and Toni Morrison's Blue Eyes. It's just amazing.
I mean, Of Mice and Men.
Yes, Of Mice and Men, which I studied in high school as a classic. It's just ridiculous. And they're taking away all of the books about questioning suicide, which is really important for teenagers to be able to talk about. It's an epidemic. They're
Yes.
taking away questioning your individuality and trying to find out what your sexuality is, which is also, I mean,
And
as
they're
a
really
teen,
reaching on a lot
yes,
of that because the content that they're claiming is these things. I mean, it's just the human experience.
yes.
It's really all it is.
Or books like My Two Mommies, which really, that just makes it normalizing for kids
That
that
needs to
do
be
live as
there.
two moms.
It does. And, this is in a different vein, but similar because it immediately sparked it and made me think of it. My two mommies needs to be there. My two dads needs to be there. I had a nephew who grew up with no mother, and there was never a representation for him in the library. Everything was the cookie cuttered standard family of a mom and a dad that he didn't have in the picture. And those kids out there are hurting because they feel like, uh, my life isn't important enough for anyone to discuss or validate. Every kid needs a book.
They
We can,
do. And a lot of them, they're also taking out like cultural books that have to deal with Native American cultures. So those kids aren't represented either. And I just can't imagine being in school and not having any representation of anybody that looks like you at the library. Like having no role models, nothing to look at, and then going to history class and being told a bunch of lies about what your culture is, and going home and being told something totally different by your parents. Like that would be so confusing. Like, who do you believe? And then you have to go through tests and you have to write down certain answers in order to pass. But that's not what your parents are telling you at home. It's
yeah,
just
and
frustrating.
how lonely. And it actually just inspired me to look up this Stephen King quote that I always like because, well, it would be very lonely, the situation you just described. And the quote is, alone. Yes, that's the key word, the most awful word in the English tongue. Murder doesn't hold a candle to it, and hell is only a poor synonym. Because being lonely is a terrible feeling. And that's why half of us walking around as adults who are bookworms, that's why, because literature provided what we were reaching for, the hand we needed, to guide us through what we were going through. And so we've got to protect it. And I thank you for coming on here with that website address because it's so important right now.
You're welcome. I also think the being alone is why the election happened the way it did, because everybody felt that they were alone and nobody was listening to them and they weren't getting the help that they wanted to. Because I have talked to some people that voted for Trump, and it's not that they hate the LGBTQA plus community or that they want abortion rights to go away. It's felt that they were alone in trying to find work, and they were alone in trying to find help to be able to keep their houses, and they were 2 or 3 months behind, and the banks were threatening to take their homes away, and they didn't know where to turn, and they had nobody to talk to about that.
And isn't it crazy how we are all at each other's fingertips on these phones and laptops and everything, but we're lonelier than ever?
Yeah, it is. And it's so sad. I mean, I Trump is a horrible person, and I don't agree with a lot of what he's doing, actually anything that he has said. But I can understand why some of the people felt so alone that they felt they didn't have anywhere to turn to, and why they think that the past 8 years haven't really helped, because they've been brainwashed by the media to think that nothing will be done, that they are alone, that there's nothing for them, that they're just by
And
themselves.
I do see that. I just think a great many of us really went into shock because we had taken it for granted that this progress we've been pushing for, well, me, as long as I can remember, I really thought we were rolling forward. And
Right.
I think it was just the shock because anybody who knows me online, I mean, I've probably known you online for maybe a decade on and off on different social media, I feel like. And
Yes.
you've probably never seen me lose my mind and go on rants like I did this month, but
I haven't.
emotions were high. They really were. And we're all, like you said, we've got to start having open conversations and banding together and remembering what we're doing here. And I've seen a lot of great anthologies springing up in response to it. So people are out there getting each other inspired and writing about it. So that's good.
There's a lot of revenge female anthologies that are coming out now too, because of the fear of having abortion rights taken
I
away.
just wrote a revenge, well, an angry female poem last night. Maybe I
Yeah,
should read it because I was thinking about reading it. I've submitted it somewhere, but they allow reprints, as long as you have the rights. So I don't think there'd be a problem with me reading it. And it
oh,
was just so shocking because I didn't know I was feeling all that.
I have rage over that. I really do because I had a situation where I was in surgery and they didn't even give me any time to think about it. And they told me that this was the best possible permanent birth control for me to have, and Europe had banned it. And I was doped up on morphine, and it was before I was going in for major surgery. And they said, sign this paper here, take this. And they put this permanent birth control in me that almost killed me. And then when they removed it, they took away my ability to ever have children, even if I wanted to.
Oh, but
And
they won't call that murder.
no,
I'm
and I
sorry. That's the first thought that sprang to mind, and I'm sorry, but
that's okay. I feel like if I had not been on Medicare and Medicaid, maybe I would have been treated differently. And it made me really angry that that choice was taken away from me, because at the time I was younger and I didn't want kids. But when I got older, I started thinking maybe I might want kids and now I can't have them. What if I'd wanted kids? And
you
now
have
I'm just, my
every
body
right
is
to be
ruined.
super angry about that. And I know from personal experience, I have had family members calm me down, try to calm me down, and tell me that it's just in my head. But people on Medicaid are 100% treated different because I used to be on and I went through it for years, and it is a thing. So that's another thing I was hoping to see improve in the coming years of this country. And I think I'll just start becoming more active and more vocal and start working toward the changes I want because sitting here on our asses and bickering at each other on Facebook is getting us about nowhere, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's nice to have a community to be able to rally around you and to talk to, but we need to be able to be out there to push our values on our representatives. But the thing is we need to get rid of lobbying, because lobbying is what really does us in, because of all the money, because the lobbyists can go in there and they can give any politician money and then the politician will vote for them. And it's like, if you don't have money and you can't lobby, people don't listen to you. And that's not the way democracy was built to be. But that's what it's become. It's become a money game.
Yes, money already controls enough of the medical field. The medicine they're giving you is the latest one they're plugging because, they're slinging that medicine for whoever they're being paid to sling it for. Enough things that shouldn't be controlled by money are, but our government is the last thing that should be, and yet probably the main thing that is. So I agree with you there. And, I do kind of feel like reading my angry feminist piece. Do you mind?
Sure.
Okay. I wrote this last night, and it's called Too Little, Too Late. There are women like me beneath burqas and niqabs, beneath straitjackets, aprons, and prison jumpers, demonized for claiming ownership of our own bodies and having our own minds with our own dangerous thoughts. Pity, oh putrid pity, what a shame to realize the wasted women who would sow the earth with seeds of patience and grow gentle gardens of goodwill, if not for the poisoned pastures of our hostile habitats, filled with fetid fumes and exhaled evils of exalted emperors, who hold us down and slice away the soft pieces of our womanhood with ceremonial razors, sew us up, then tie our legs together so we can't move, while our parts heal smooth and blank just for them, until, They come to collect their property, bust us open again and wave our bloody sheets over the town square for all to see, like a prize, a trophy of linen and blood, the same old song and dance. This is man's self-deluded, self-designed conquest of flesh, wherein evil men tell evil men to take what they want, with pats on the back, smiles and nods, callously continuing and continuing on, so that not even miles of blue ocean, countless centuries of time, or whispers of progress on a warm wind can change the fact that in high society, middle, and low, they speak of us as objects, playthings kept on a shelf and swapped between greedy hands like common currency. They jail us for deciding we won't carry their rape babies. They spit in our faces while we wipe the asses and feed the mouths of their precious sons and their worthless daughters. And they trade us for dowries, sell us to rich old men, the kings of our world, who are afraid to let us fly, fearing we might soar higher than they ever knew how. And in their darkest hour, when their skies turn black and the end is nigh, for even kings must die, they'll wish they'd let us shed the burkas, sow the seeds, grow our gentle gardens of goodwill, and undo the damage done. But by then they will see they've given us too little, too late. And that is my ode to all women who have ever been oppressed or held in a situation they don't want to be in, or told what to do with their body, or forced to marry someone they don't want, or forced to have a child that was conceived through the most awful moment of their life, or who had to have a child and died during childbirth because there was no other option, or just desperately wanted to escape the situation they're in and never going to have a choice. And so that's my ode to all you, my sisters, because I was angry.
I understand. That was really powerful. And I'd like to say, when you talked about female mutilation, that if people think that that still does not go on over in Africa, that female mutilation still does go on, where they actually take dirty pieces of glass and they scrape away a woman's clitoris because they don't want them to have any pleasure with sex. They just think that they're objects to be used just to birth men's progeny, just to continue their
And
line.
I'm going to get this wrong because the autobiography I read, she hopped around to different places in her life, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, lots of places. But I read an autobiography where it was very prevalent in the area they were doing it, which it was not Africa. So, I mean, it's all over in different areas, like still happening. So,
It's so barbaric. It's just an awful, awful practice. And they do then sew them up because they don't want them to have sex with anyone. And I can't imagine the pain. I mean, I've had female surgery. I just can't even imagine that happening. And that just makes
oh,
me,
yeah. And in the scene I read, and I don't care if this is too much. Okay, this might be too much. Hold your ears if you don't want to hear it. But it was children. It was little girls that it was happening to.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it stuck with me and it came out in that poem along with a lot of other things because we haven't had an easy go of it. And I've had a lot of men question lately, why are you guys angry? You have it so good now. Well, hey,
No,
maybe we've got some things sorted out a little bit, but that's slipping away so quickly if we don't hold on to it. Come on now.
no, I was in school and I had a guy who tried to kill me. And I went to the police department, and the police said to me, and I quote, this was in the early 90s, "Well, just stop seeing your boyfriend." And I was like, hey, this friend of mine is not my boyfriend. I'm like, and he's gay. So there's no way that he would ever be my boyfriend. I'm like, he's a friend and he tried to attempt to take my life in my own backyard. Do you not care? Just stop seeing your boyfriend, was what they told me. I'm like, what? How is that helpful? Like, I wonder if I had been a guy and if I'd said that, if they would have taken it seriously.
Well, because you must have just said something to get under the guy's skin because that's how mouthy women are, right?
Right. It's like, and we still have to deal with that whole, oh, you were raped. Oh, well, what were you wearing? Like, it's our fault if we were dressed sexy. Like,
You
and
know
why
what?
can't you dress
You know what
sexy?
my favorite accessory that I heard about? I heard that they started wearing inserts in their vaginas in, I think it was in South Africa, but I'm not gonna say that for sure. But have you ever seen the movie Teeth?
No,
It's
I
kind of
haven't.
similar to that. Okay, well, it was inserts you put up there, so if someone rapes you, they severely regret it because the thing has some teeth. I, I
Hmm.
swear. Now I'm questioning the validity of this, but I'm pretty sure it was valid news website. And if that doesn't exist, I'm gonna take it on Shark Tank because
That would sell really, really well, better than tasers.
yeah, you know, going out for the night, yeah, preventative. So
I,
anyway,
yeah, I know somebody. There is a dance club that I go to, and I will not use the dance club's name or her name. She is transgender. She left the club. She was raped in the parking lot just because she is transgender. That's how much she was hated.
and
It
people think, yeah, okay.
it's
People
just
think
awful.
this doesn't go on, and that's what I was gonna say, and I realized I was interrupting you, but it irritates me.
It does. I did have one more poem that I picked that speaks to America, and it's by Walt Whitman, who everybody knows. And it is about anger and and America. And I thought it was very appropriate for today, especially with what's going on. I couldn't believe it's like Walt Whitman, saw into the future and was like, this is still going to be valid and people still need to listen to this, if you don't mind me reading it.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Okay. It's called Beat Drums. Beat, beat drums, blow, bugles, blow. Through the windows, through doors, burst like a ruthless force. Into the solemn church and scatter the congregation. Into the school where the scholar is studying. Leave not the bridegroom quiet. No happiness must he have now with his bride, nor the peaceful farmer any peace plowing his field or gathering his grain. So fierce you were, and pound you drums, so shrill you bugles blow. Beat, beat drums, blow, bugles blow, over the traffic of cities, over the rumble of wheels in the streets. Are beds prepared for sleepers at night in the houses? No sleepers must sleep in those beds. No bargainers bargain by day. No brokers or speculators. Would they continue? Would the talkers be talking? Would the singer attempt to sing? Would the lawyer rise in the court to state his case before the judge? Then rattle quicker, heavier drums, you bugles wilder blow. Beat, beat drums, blow, bugles blow. Make no parley, stop for no expostulation. Mind not the timid, mind not the weeper or prayer. Mind not the old man beseeching the young man. Let not the child's voice be heard, nor the mother's entreaties. Make even the trestles to shake the dead where they lie awaiting the hearses. So strong you thump, O terrible drums, so loud you bugles blow.
Wow.
I thought
You
that
picked
was
a couple good
apropos.
ones. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, nobody should feel safe. Nobody. Nobody should feel safe right now. I don't care what side you are on. Nobody. I think everybody has something to gain and something to lose on both sides, though. Really, what do you have to gain on Trump's side? I don't understand. I've been
That's what I'm
thinking about
saying.
this. I mean,
That's
the
all I'm
first
saying.
time, yeah, the first time that Trump won, I sat and cried in front of the television. I remember I cried and cried, and I said to my mom, how could this happen in America? How could this happen? I don't understand. And then it
I mean,
happened
they
this
even did a
time.
whole season of American Horror Story basically about it because it was just like so
Yeah.
shocking to us.
It
I'm sorry, I
yeah,
was just Googling Walt Whitman because I was trying to see how old that one might be. And, he died before the 1900s. So once again, literature speaking so far into the future.
Yes, it's so important. And I mean, Toni Morrison speaks to things. We've got Langston Hughes speaks to things. There's so much going on in all these different movements. There's modern day poets that speak to things that I would have loved to use, but they're still on copyright. There's a lot of Irish poets. Even Jane Austen had poems that were angry. And I was surprised because you don't think of Jane Austen as being an angry poet, but she was. It just seems like anger is everywhere politically. You just can't get away from it. It seems like it's always been an issue, which I guess shouldn't surprise me since there are parties. But I've talked to somebody, Thomas Stewart, and he said we broke the number one cardinal rule that George Washington gave us, which was not to split into political parties. He said it would break our nation. Now, I don't remember reading about that in school, but that makes a lot of sense because breaking into political parties has seemed like it has not done us any good.
Well, ever since childhood, I've often just felt as though it mainly serves as a diversion tactic because it's just two people slinging mud at each other. But I feel that, you know. But we are stuck with our current system, how it is now. So it's time to make important choices. It's time to back the right things, support people who need it right now, get behind the right causes. Uh, Go to that website. What was that website again?
The website is www.writersfordemocraticaction.org.
And that only pertains to the banning of books, which is one small drop in a big bucket. But,
It pertains to democracy too. They talk about democracy, they talk about censorship, they talk about a lot of different things. And they are very anti Trump. So they talked a lot about how you could organize as writers. They have had people write and signed letters talking about how they do not support Trump, signed petitions. So it is political and it is very interesting. But yes, they do talk a lot about book censorship and writers' rights. It is a very interesting organization. I really encourage people to go look at them. They're very political, and you definitely will be getting, if you sign up, definitely you will be getting some interesting emails in your boxes that you can be active, and there are things that you can do to make the world a better place and to fight the dictatorships like Trump of this world. I know there are people who are going to say Trump is not a dictator, but he seems to associate with a lot of them. So I'm kind of going to clump him in there and just say that, yeah, he seems to admire them. So,
and
yeah.
speaking of books, not that we're not always speaking of books, it seems like every time I talk to you, you're just so busy lately. So you're editing books for presses, you have a book coming out soon that's your own. I mean, is there anything you want to talk about? Because you've got stuff going on.
Flesh Eating Turtles is supposed to be coming out this November. We've had a little snafu, but the cover is in design. It is in edits. So hopefully it's coming out this
Is
month.
it about flesh eating turtles?
Yes, it
Okay.
has to do with CRISPR DNA and everything going wrong that humans should not be messing with. I'm now editing for Unveiling Nightmares. I have edited Brothers in Blood for Thomas Stewart and Postmortem. And I edited a book for Brian Boyer. And I can't talk about what that is because it's coming out next year and it's kind of a secret.
We always have secrets, we writers.
I know we're very secretive sometimes. I'm putting together a collection called Sapphic Divinity, which is about angry lesbian women and
You had me at Sapphic because
goddesses.
I'm aware of Sapphic.
Yeah. And I'm going to be submitting to the three revenge angry woman anthologies and see what happens. And I've recently become an author syndicate for Thrill Ride e-magazine, which starts out in 2025. And they are a bi-quarterly zine. So we'll see how that goes.
You
That's
sound
my
like
news.
me because sometimes when I sit back and list all the things I have going on, it sends me into a panic attack because I suddenly remember I have so many things going on.
Yes. Yes. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. What did I do to myself? I've taken on too much stuff. Yeah. And then recently with the Wisconsin writing chapter that I'm in, I told them all my experience with writing and I just wanted to be an associate editor. And they decided that since I have so many qualifications, they were going to put me as the managing editor. So now I'm in charge of everything. And I'm like,
Oh
what?
boy, you done it now.
I know.
That's so funny. And I've always wanted to ask you, you kind of identify as a cat, but do you have a cat?
I do have a cat. I used to have two cats, one passed, and I grew up always having five cats. So, yeah, I mean, part of me does feel very cat like because I just have characteristics of cats since being around them for so long.
Do they share their tuna with you?
No, they do not share their tuna. They're
Ugh,
greedy little bastages. They do not.
typical cats, I tell you.
Yes, but they do
Mine has taken
snuggle.
up under the Christmas tree. The skirt is his now, apparently.
I haven't put mine up yet, but yeah, they're going to be ornaments knocked, and the skirt is going to be definitely his. Going to be putting that up soon. He'll just take over. Everything is his. Yeah,
That's how it works.
he likes to sit on my shoulders while I'm writing, so that's
As,
helpful.
as long as they don't turn off the document when you haven't saved it, we're good.
Oh, he walks across it, and there are just SSS, GGG, HHHHH.
Well, years and years ago, I left my laptop open and I can never prove what happened, but I lost, I think, 1900 because I was rounding it up to about 2000 words I lost, and I know it was that cat, but I never could prove it. Never could stop walking across my laptop. They're so good at that.
They are my turtle and my fish Gordon never do that. They're very well behaved.
So you have a turtle, but he doesn't eat flesh, does he?
He does eat bugs. He's a land tortoise, so he eats bugs and he eats vegetables. And he's kind of what I based my flesh eating turtle on. I based it on a box turtle, and that's what I started out with because
You
I knew,
mutated him just like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when they stepped in the goo. What
yep,
is his name?
his name is Bradbury. He's named after Ray Bradbury.
Oh my gosh. Don't get me started on Ray Bradbury because I'm trying to wrap up soon, girl. I could fangirl on that.
And my fish is named Gordon, and he's a beta fish. He just looked like a Gordon. I don't know.
Well, I did want to make sure to get to know your pets today, so I'm glad I did. um, I guess we can wrap up because I think we've had a great talk. What do you think?
I think so. I'm so glad you had me on. This has been really fun. And I think what we've talked about is important for listeners. So I hope they don't click off in the middle and they're like, oh no, this is something that's political again.
Yeah, I know. I have tried so long to stay away from political stuff, but I just started feeling this month like that had been the wrong thing to do. So I think it's about finding the right balance from here on out. Because the creative part of me, I don't want to drive away people who just want to read my stories where monsters rip people's heads off. I get it. I like that too. So we'll find our balance and we'll all survive and we're all going to stick together and get through it.
Yes.
So I thank everybody for listening. I am going to sign off and Nora's going to sign off. You want to say bye, Nora?
Yes. Goodbye to all you creeps and ghouls out there. I hope you have a fiendishly freakish Tuesday. It is Tuesday, isn't it?
Oh, hell. Yeah, I think it is. All
Okay.
right, everybody. Well, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on the Weird Wide Web podcast.
Goodbye.